It's October 5th. It's Monday. We are deep in payroll and accounting for businesses. If you are looking for ways to simplify your payroll process, simplify your work. I mean, operating a business requires you to handle a million things at once sometimes. And I was asked to do a little add-on basically to the payroll application that I have, which is super awesome and only $100. You should get one if you have a small business and don't want to pay a ton for payroll and totally do it yourself. But in addition to all of that stuff, well, what about all the other tasks that you have that go along with accounting and running your business? So I have this thing that I use personally, and I've kind of applied it uh, to anyone, and I'm going to be adding it into the payroll file for those because it's so easy to do that. I just feel like I need to show people how this works because it can really be helpful. So in order to organize everything that you want and have it in a visual way so that you can check it and spot check it, I mean, look at this cool pivot table that we're going to talk about how we made. Um, these things are actually pretty easy to do once you start messing around with columns, column titles, and row records. You're just creating a data table of all the things that you have to do and grabbing all the data that you need to supply to that table so that you can always have answers to questions just by the click of a button. So here's how you do this. Some of these things are formulas. This, for example, is a formula. This is a formula. This is a formula. These other things are not formulas that you could type in. So let's, before I talk about some records that are, let's talk about a record that's in here and then we'll talk about how to make one ourselves. So the first record here is something that says submit SLA. Okay, that's just a report you need to submit. It's a reporting function. So a task or a group to this type of thing that you do is a reporting function. You have to file a lot of reports. Like this stuff could be either accounting or reporting, essentially. You could call it one of the two. If you're paying money, sometimes it's accounting. If you're just submitting a report and not paying any money, then maybe it's reporting. You can do whatever you want to. You can name your tasks anything you want. You can describe the task. You can record a number of hours if there are hours associated with it or not. What you really want to have in every record is a due date. Even if it's not a hard due date, it's a due date that you're going to use as a reference when you're looking back at what has happened and what you need to do and what you've already done. So in this case, we're creating a due date, which is today. Now, what's cool about this is there's this completed date column. So as soon as you are done and you have record of completing whatever this thing was and it's finally done, you can go here to the completed date item and figure out, oh, I did this on Saturday. Boom. As soon as you do that, the record's going to turn black and things that are saying, did you do this? Yes or no is going to be like, all of a sudden this is now done. And this thing goes to a Y over here automatically. And your days ago or days left and stuff disappears because when we're putting in like, when are these things due? Well, if I have something that's due the end of the year, you know, right? Like pay final payroll tax, even though that would probably be in the next year, right? That's an accounting function. You could say all states and Fed taxes to pay, whatever. You don't know what that amount is yet, so we're not going to put anything in this monetary cost, which you can use this if you want to. But say you don't know, boom, that's 87 days. Look at what happens now when we go back to this pivot task sheet. This is a pretty much an automated report that's going to give you answers to questions about your business. And every time you update a record in that other sheet, you can just go into this pivot tasks sheet and just right click in here and choose refresh, and everything's going to start loading up here. You're going to have tasks that you've completed. For example, you completed this SLA. You could even have the date that it was completed. You could add that in here. You could say the completed date could be something that you add here. Be like, oh, I completed that on the 3rd. If you wanted to keep record of that, um, that's how easy it is to update and change this. What are things that you haven't done? Okay, here are things that you haven't done, and they're all accounting functions, and you could have the days remaining left to complete them in a color-coded fashion. So even if you don't have them sorted in order, you could say, oh, this thing needs to be paid tomorrow. It's 1 day away. It's $175 to client XXAB. And when you finally actually do that, you go back to your tasks record sheet and you say, oh, I'm going to pay client today. I put it in the mail today. Sorry, today. 10.5, and now all of a sudden it's done, and you don't have to worry about it ever again, hopefully. You just go back to yes, say, oh, I submitted that on 10/5 when the client asks you, did you mail it? If you're updating your task list appropriately. So this thing is got some formulas in it, and it's also got some stuff that you would type. You can add different columns all the way through here if you need to identify something in another layer and then throw it into your pivot table so fast by going into the field list. This is super powerful stuff, but it just organizes things right away. Like, what do we have to do? How do we sort this? A couple ways you can sort this. You can start here by saying I want days remaining to be ascending, and that's going to not do it because it's actually all the way down here, right? It does get a little difficult to sort these when you have different layers. Yeah, I can't seem to get this over here. I would need to sort by what this? One of these different layers is going to sort properly. Ascending days remaining. There you go. It's this one. It's the progress or outcome because these are the unique records when you're typing in what the progress or outcome is. This is kind of like what won't have to be unique, but it should be unique. And your task title is going to be redundant sometimes, but your description is also unique as well. So you could flip it around and say, I want to look at this by description after task title and do the same thing and sort this ascending by days remaining, and it's going to get you the stuff in order. Another cool way to do this is, say you hadn't done this one and you're like, all right, you refresh all things I need to do. Well, you have this slicer. These are slicers that you can create by going up to slicer, insert, slicer. Where'd you go? Sorry. You go into the table, pivot table, analyze, insert slicer, and you can insert a slicer for anything from your data set. So if you were like just looking at this, be like, all right, what do I have to do right today? Oh, it's just this one, right? What do I have the next 10 days to do? Oh, it's just this stuff. And then unfilter like this. It's endless how powerful and helpful it can be. So that's a quick tutorial on how to create a task list with some formulas that help you out and create a table that allows you to totally, you can remove this if you don't want it, totally craft this thing anyway. Or you can create charts off this. I mean, it's endless, endless. It's like you want a pivot chart. They got recommended pivot tables. Excel's so awesome. Let's look at I don't know, a pie chart. No, that doesn't make any sense. What's the pie chart giving us? Let's have some fun with this. It's saying that, oh, it's just looking at cost or value. If you move days remaining over here, it might change. Watch this. If you move days remaining, boom, boom, look at that. So what days remaining is showing here is that, um, well, it's not all right. We'd have to change the format a little bit. This could tell us how many days remaining and what chunk of something that is. It's gonna be one of these guys. Sometimes you can add field. What is doing this? See, it's fun to learn how this stuff works. You just play around with it, and nobody knows everything about Excel. There's a guy, Bill Jelen, who goes by Mr. Excel, who is the closest person I've ever seen to knowing everything, and even he knows there's an infinite amount that he doesn't know. So anyway, very cool stuff. Pretty automatic. Don't worry about the charts for now, but if you're worrying about ordering your tasks, you can really do this. And if you're worried about doing payroll yourself and making sure the numbers are accurate and you can easily keep track of the information, you want this payroll program. We're going to have all 50 states in here by the end of the year, and 2021 is going to be launched with a brand spanking new, accurate 50 state crazy version of this so that anyone in the country can, in continental, the lower 48 or Alaska or Hawaii, no state tax in Alaska, but you still might need the payroll file. So anyone's going to be able to do it, in the Virgin Islands. And I did the Bahamas too. It's endless. So anyway, good luck. Payroll should be easy. So we'll make it so.